The following video may contain sensitive topics. The views and opinions of the presenter to these are plainly his own. Furthermore, any and all views and opinions of the presenter do not in any way reflect the views, opinions, statements, and advocacies of his personal contacts, his family, his affiliations, and his profession. While the presenter makes a commitment that all content is original, he is obliged to cite references or acknowledge resources mentioned or used in the production of this video. This disclaimer is also written in the description below.
Christ is risen. He is risen indeed. Hallelujah. I don't know if I'm heard, but that's part one of the message. Hi guys, Ian here. Una sa lahat, I apologize if there's gonna be background noises, or should I say background noises, dahil sa mga tahol ng mga aso. They're cute but they're not audio friendly, so pagbigyan nyo na. The 12th of April was supposed to be the last day of the enhanced community quarantine, if not for the Philippine government's extension of such until the 30th of this month. So in lieu of a post-mortem or debriefing, let me share to you on this very special episode of Insight what I've learned so far during this quarantine lockdown due to the Chinese coronavirus plague, or COVID-19. Before I go on, explain ko muna yung unang clip. Basically, it's my version of the personal protective equipment for my face or for my head. I have to say, hindi ako makahinga ng maayos dun. I can still breathe, pero syempre, it's layers upon layers of it's layers upon layers of protection kung lalabas ka. And so far, hindi pa ako lumalabas ng malayuan and all that. But it's better to be safe than sorry. I do have been playing airsoft for some time in the past, and I still have some of the equipment that I have used, so I might as well use them. Itong goggles na to, unang gamit ko sa kanya post airsoft yung pumutok ang bulkang Tal. So this has seen some action. Ito hindi pa. Technically hindi talaga siya protective, pero it forms shape when I wear it, and added protection na rin dahil nga kahit na perforated to ay nasa ilalim man ay N95 tapos surgical mask. So ayun, so that's the outer layer, and then kinover ko siya netong scarf na to, or shemag, or whatever you call it. And lastly, inside, yun nga yung N95 mask, pang thin surgical mask, and then I have these goggles na tinalian ko ng goma mula sa nasirang N95. So basically it's securing the whole thing kapag sinusuot ko siya, kasi minsan nalalaglag to so at least merong suporta mula sa likod. And if you might have noticed that I have a red armband right here, that is basically me telling all those who are working in the medical front lines as well as in other vital services that, hey guys, you are the best. Eto, suporta namin sa inyo kahit nasa bahay kami. And ngayon nasa social media, I'm sharing this video. I am wearing this because I'm out of gratitude that they have stayed at work for us. So here we are wearing this at home, staying at home for them. So that's the reciprocal thing that we're gonna do, and that's basically what I'm wearing right now. Now, in my previous video, I have shared the 3 things I've learned so far during this plague, and let me expand it to you right now. First off, you have to look after yourself. Now, this is the right time for you to catch up on all the things that are practically beneficial to you, such as learning a skill, reading, or even getting some sleep. Now, and aside from the pandemic, we also have to fight against cabin fever. We can't risk getting cabin fever at this point. Staying healthy and sane are 2 complementary things that we have to prioritize at this point in time. Now, second of all, is you have to look after each other and ask if they're okay. Now, a simple text, chat, or message will suffice, especially if you have friends in the front lines. It wouldn't only raise their morale, but it would also allow you to properly interact with people in the most proper way outside talking with them in person, specifically if you call them through Skype, Zoom, or Viber, or even Messenger. So it's another way of combating cabin fever without risking yourselves getting infected with the plague. Technically, uh, it's physical. It's the next best thing uh, to uh, talking person to person in the mandate of physical distancing without having being socially distant. Kasi iba yun eh. I mean, buti na correct yun na yeah, colloquial terms social distancing pa rin, pero technically physical distancing siya. Kasi kapag social distant ka, parang ina-isolate mo sarili mo sa mundo eh, kahit sa mga bagay na hindi um, medical oriented. And before I go on, cabin fever refers to the distressing claustrophobic irritability or restlessness experienced when a person or group is stuck at an isolated location or in confined quarters for an extended period of time. So, aside from the pandemic, kailangan din nating uh, kailangan din nating anhin yung uh, kailangan din nating i-combat yung cabin fever kasi as you might hear in the background, maraming nag ano sa akin, uh, marami kayong naririnig dito na parang ano ba. So sa totoo lang, labag sa kalooban ko na record to, pero I don't have the um, I don't have the luxury of a studio or a separate room to do all of this stuff. So yeah, it's really debilitating kung tutusin. Number 3, agree to disagree and don't blow up bridges. Now, I have a story which I already said, pero kwento ko na lang din just in case na miss ninyo. Half a year ago, a great disquiet and great discord happened within my circle of contacts because of the damned Amazon Synod and specifically the Pachamama incident. Now, to make the long story short, I really liked to keep the discourse and dialogue to continue without any vitriol, but alas, shades and turds were thrown at each other that I decided to distance from these guys unless and until they resolve this without any vitriol. I still hope they would settle these differences in due time, but of course it will never happen soon. But if I define something as hoping against hope, it's the resumption of their correspondences and setting their differences and quarrels aside. Now, for more about this, I highly recommend that you watch my video about my story, why I learned my lesson that the hard way. So, nandiyan sa taas yung video nung nung kwento ko last week. But to have a short summary of what I said there, in all things, promote the good, correct the bad, and criticize the downright ugly. In essentials, unity. In options, liberty. In all things, charity. And I have another thing that I have learned, and that fourth thing is to take this time to pray and to wind down. As I may have mentioned in one of my videos this quarantine, now extended to the 30th of April, it is the right time to pray and reflect. It is just coincidental that, and or maybe providential, that the virus and quarantine happened during the season of Lent, and extending rather up to Passiontide, Holy Week, and Eastertide. We may never again have this great opportunity to experience this kind of, so to say, forced monasticism in our own lifetime, so we make the most out of it while it lasts. And finally, a few suggestions. I've written the script for this on Easter Sunday, which is basically a day before this recording. Lalong-lalo na itong last part na to. Now, another story is, my father grew up in a neighborhood whose parish celebrates its fiesta every Easter Sunday because of the fact that the name of the parish is dedicated to the resurrection of the Lord. So it's the Resurrection of the Lord parish. So it is a no-brainer for everyone there to have some festive cooking, aka handaan, to celebrate the fiesta, and perhaps more appropriately and more importantly, the Paschal victory of the Lord of Hosts in trampling death by death. Now, as a family man, he and his brothers, my uncles, continue the tradition, or I hope they are, of cooking up something special for that day, and influence some of my neighbors, some of my dad's neighbors, to do the same. In fact, as of this writing, as of the time that I wrote this, I can hear and smell the food being cooked in the kitchen, because this station, where I am right now, it's near the kitchen. So talagang naamoy ko talaga yung mga niluluto nun. Now, and having been in a relationship with a lady who I consider as an Italophile, as she speaks and continues to study Italian, I realized that Italians, especially in its rural south, take Easter as seriously as Christmas. And it definitely should be across all of Christendom, and more especially for all of us Filipinos who believe in Christ, the Son of the living God, who conquered death and triumphed over it gloriously. If we can spend money, time, and effort for us to celebrate Christ's nativity, wouldn't it be proper and more appropriate if we also have the same allocation, preparation, and fervor in celebrating Christ's triumph over sin and death? Diba? But one thing is certain. Preparing special food for Easter Sunday is definitely one of the things I will bring along. One of the things the old man taught us all, that I will bring along if ever I make a family of my own and pass on to my children. And since Easter Vigil was within the quarantine period, and this is another suggestion, since no major gathering is allowed to curb the plague, I do suggest that parishes and dioceses would redirect some of the preparations they made for the Paschal Triduum for another vigil which I believe most Catholics and other liturgical Christians underappreciate, and that is the Vigil of Pentecost. Firstly, Pentecost has its own distinct, Pentecost Vigil rather, has its own distinct liturgy apart from the Mass of the day itself. Just like Christmas, Easter, and even the feasts of the Assumption and that of Saints Peter and Paul. Second, like Christmas and Easter, Pentecost has an octave, at least prior to the reforms of 1962 and 1969. Third, since we were not given the opportunity to celebrate the beginning of Eastertide, we may at least gather together, albeit still complying to the physical distancing by that time, to celebrate its joyous culmination. Therefore, I guess we do deserve to have some kind of festive mood within Eastertide. So I do would like to know if those suggestions uh, are good calls for everyone to consider. So if ever you have thoughts on that or comments on that, leave them down below. Comment down below so that we could see if that would be a good idea to propose to every community. So yun lang. And unfortunately, I have nothing more to say. So with all that said, this is Ian reminding you that every enlightenment and every insight is worth it as we aim for knowledge and seek wisdom. And at all times, be the salt of the earth and the light of the world. Until then, continue to wash your hands, stay at home, stay safe and sane, and see you next time. Happy Easter, everyone. Bye, guys.